Hello and welcome to a new video. In today's video we're going to take a look at my top 10 teams for the Great League part number 1. This is only around buffed Pokemon basically, so we built teams around buffed Pokemon that are there quite a lot of them this season. So yeah, today we're going to take a look at my top 10 teams for the Open Great League. And again, there's going to be a part 2 coming up as well. I already looked at the teams as well. There are so many more teams I could have built with so many more different kind of buffed Pokemon. There is a lot of variety in the current meta, which is generally really cool. So I'm excited for the new season. Season without any ELO pressure, but still, of course, you kind of want to win those games, especially as the first week is going to be a week where you're going to have extra sets as well as you're going to have extra Stardust rewards. So it's kind of nice to play in this meta and have a lot of success in it because you're going to get rewarded quite nicely. And of course, if you enjoy these videos, feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's take a look at team number 1. If you see my short towards this team already, I think this is a fantastic team that you can run next season. And this is going to be here a team around the Ludicolo. There are actually 2 buffs in there as well, as there's also the Jellicent. Jellicent is, I think, one of the scariest Pokemon of the upcoming meta. I think it's one of the Pokemon that you're going to see all the time, which makes Wigglytuff also kind of cool. But if you are a bit worried about Wigglytuff for your backline, you can use here Tinkaton in the lead, which counters other Wigglytuffs a little bit better for this team. That's why this one is an alternative for the lead. But anyway, we're going to have here basically Wigglytuff in the lead. We're going to be able to beat those Ghost-type Pokemon. We're going to be able to, beat those Dark-type Pokemon as well for the Jellicent in the back. Then we have our Sasab of Ludicolo being able to bait out Ghost-types while punishing them with the Astonish as a Faust move is going to be fantastic. And then we have our own Ghost-type in the back with Jellicent, which is going to be able to, beat nearly everything else. And again, the only real weakness here is going to be mainly the own Wigglytuff. I guess Fortress in lead can be a bit tricky as well, but Fortress against Jellicent, for example, is a good matchup for Jellicent, and as Fortress is running the move of a Volt Switch, I assume. But yeah, as you can see, this is going to be a very good team, and we can move on to team number 2. We're going to try to have a team around the Celio. Celio got buffed, and honestly, Charjabug is a Pokemon as well that you should kind of consider for the upcoming meta. I think Charjabug is going to have a little bit more play because there are also going to be more targets for it. You could even run also Crunch again on this Pokemon, which I like quite a bit. But Charjabug says so. We have the Celio in the lead. Celio against the Ground-type Pokemon. Charjabug is going to be great against the Ground-type Pokemon. We have an ABC style line here. This means kind of that if your Celio goes down, that doesn't really mean too much. You're still going to have a good core in the back with the Charjabug as well as the Marowak that kind of have very different things they're going to excel at. For example, here, if you're going to encounter a Pokemon in the lead, like the Bastiodon, you would mostly want to stay in, go for some surfs there, and then keep your Marowak in the back for later on, and keep your Charjabug together with the Marowak in there for later on. And I think this would be the best way of playing this one out as well. And so you don't really need to keep your lead alive, which is the case for our ABB style lines. This one is quite safe. No matter which Pokemon you kind of have alive, they're all kind of having great synergy with each other. And this is kind of why I tried to build this team. This is a very safe team to run. This is kind of one of my favorite styles of the teams here today. It's going to be here the Doublade, the Licky as well as the Altaria. So, Doublade, week 2, mainly, I guess, Ghost-type Pokemon, where your Licky is going to have Shadow Ball as well as Resisted. It's going to be weak against Ground-type Pokemon. Altaria you have for that. It's going to be good against Ice-type Pokemon, which Altaria doesn't want to face. It's going to be bad against Fire types, where Licky has Rollout, where Altaria has the typing. This is a team with absolutely perfect synergy. The only Pokemon that I kind of found a bit more awkward is going to be Clodsire, but you still have play against this Pokemon. It's not that it's going to be game over straight away. You can especially have like team effort, stay with Doublade, catch the Earthquake on even either Licky or the Altaria here, and just utilizing the energy on the Doublade for later on. Stuff like this is all possible against this Pokemon, and while on paper maybe this team doesn't look as crazy good, it is honestly such a good team with the Licky here. I think Licky is a very good Pokemon in this meta. If you don't want to run Licky, by the way, a perfect alternative, by the way, which does basically the same job, but maybe even better, is going to be Credilli. This could work out the same way. Credilli is a very good Pokemon as well for this team. But basically, Doublade Altaria core is going to be nearly perfect. And this makes a team like even Altaria, Doublade, and Aegislash interesting, which, spoiler alert, going to be in part number 2 of this video. But as you can see, this team is just really cool. I like this team a lot. I think Doublade has a lot of potential in this meta. That's going to be a team that I'm very likely going to play quite early on into the season as well, just because I think it's such a great team to run. Next team, I kind of want to try out Licky in the lead, because I do think that this Pokemon has a lot of potential in that case as well. And we're going to have more of an ABB style line here. Normal double fighting has been something kind of popular for a bit. And as we will see here as well, this is honestly not a bad team itself, for sure not, but here we are going to have GoLiSupport in the back as well, which has some potential more against Azumarill, which is kind of why I wanted to have this Pokemon in here, and it's just not like directly an ABB style line, but it's still an ABB style line. I would actually, in the current meta, recommend you Close Combat on the Primeape over Ice Punch, because it's going to give you more punch against those Ice-type Pokemon. It's going to give you better play against the Wigglytuff as well, being able to force a shield there from this Pokemon or do a ton of damage or even get the knockout there. I think it's just better to have Close Combat in the current meta on Primeape. Could change again. We don't know, but I do think that Close Combat is currently making more sense on this Pokemon. And then GoLiSupport on the back there as well. It's going to be able to deal with Ice-type Pokemon. It's going to be able to deal with Fighting-type Pokemon. Has a lot of potential just generally. And so I think it's going to be a cool team. I think this team should work out quite well. Yeah, Sasop is of course Primeape. Always the second Pokemon is the Sasop here. The last one is closer. I think it's going to be a great team to run. Next up, I kind of want to use both Clefable as well as the Darkspawn. Clefable, I do think Media Mesh as well as Moonblast together is better than Swift. Personally, I said it multiple times, I think it's just better to have like a lot of damage output basically on this Pokemon, which is guaranteed. Like either Media Mesh or Moonblast is just going to do a lot of damage. But also here, just generally, it's like Swift doesn't really give you good coverage or anything like this for a type that you cannot hit otherwise. Other than Fire, I guess. Fire you cannot hit otherwise. But it doesn't really matter too much. But anyway, we're going to have Darkspawn here as our Sasop. With Fire Fang, I want to trap opponents. This is my main goal for this Pokemon. I want to trap Pokemon that are Steel type, like Corviknight, Pokemon that are Steel type, like Fortress, like even the Scizor with this Pokemon. This is my main objective. I want to build a team where I had a Fire type in the lead, but it didn't really work out in a lot of other matchups. So Jellicent just makes more sense. Also, like again, you have double coverage to Dark type Pokemon in the back, which is kind of cool. I do think though that instead of Clefable, I would actually recommend you to have Wigglytuff here. I do think Clefable is cool. But I do think that Clefable could struggle, especially energy down against Pokemon like Sableye still. But then again, you have now Media Mesh, which is going to be better against them. So I think Clefable is totally fine. I think it's a very good team to run down. And again, it utilizes some of the cool buff Pokemon like Clefable and Darkspawn and Jellicent, a triple buff team. Next up, we're going to have the buff here, of course, to Shadow Ball on our Sasop of Spiritomb. Spiritomb needs now 50 energy for both of its charge moves, which is cool because you can store both of them, but basically you have now harder damage coming up from this Pokemon, faster as well. And now like basically Rock Tomb is really a bait move because like either you go for damage or you go for the debuff and the coverage then. But Spiritomb has a lot of potential in this meta. I do think personally though that Sableye is a bit cooler. I do think that Sableye is a tiny bit cooler, but both of them do very much the same kind of stuff. Basically here Spiritomb has Sucker Punch, which is doing more damage than Shadow Claw, but generates energy a bit slower. Rock Tomb is definitely a better move than Power Gem, which the Sableye has. And they have Shadow Ball against Foul Play. They have the same type, they do very similar things, they have the same kind of coverage with Dark Ghost and Rock. But they still kind of perform kind of differently, which is kind of funny. But yeah, this is, I think, a team that I would really recommend here as well. Double Ghost line here with Tinkaton makes a lot of sense as well. You have the Dark type answer in the lead, and also the Wigglytuff answer in the lead. That's also why Tinkaton is here. With the Steel typing, with the Fairy typing, you're going to be able to deal with the Wigglytuff quite a bit better. And the Wigglytuff is one of those big meta winners this season. I do think that Wigglytuff is going to be quite common, very likely in needy every set you're going to encounter Wigglytuff. I would say that is going to be one of the most common Pokemon in the upcoming season. Next up, Morgrem got buffed. Morgrem is a Pokemon that only recently got added into the game. I was able to get enough XL candy for this Pokemon, which is really lucky for me as well. It's a Pokemon that is a bit better than Grimmsnarl in the Open Great League. In the Ultra League, of course, Grimmsnarl is the better Pokemon, but it has better stats than Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl only has Power Punch going for it, but Power Punch itself is not really a good move anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And so here we have a team with Scizor, the Ferret, as well as the Morgrem. Scizor is needed in order to deal with Fairy-type Pokemon. Ferret is needed in order to get Fairy-type Pokemon out without having it against Morgrem. Morgrem is a very, very good closer. I think this is kind of the best way of playing Morgrem. Morgrem got again the buff here onto Foul Play, doing more damage. And with a look at the stats of this Pokemon, it's going to be able to beat most of the current Pokemon. The thing is though, when I played Morgrem myself, what I just realized with this Pokemon is that it's so neutral. Like, it's super, super neutral. There are not a lot of matchups that you completely destroy opponents with. You see a Dusclops and Sableye you can destroy with this Pokemon because you resist Ghost as well as Dark, for example. against Corsair you can do a lot. But Morgrim is mainly shining in those more neutral scenarios where it really can excel, and so I think that's kind of where, as a closer, this Pokemon is really, really fantastic. And it doesn't really need directly shields. I think Scizor kind of utilizes shields best on this team. But to be fair, every Pokemon here on this team can kind of work with shields. They have either the Stab, Sucker Punch damage on Morgrim, Third with a Trailblaze, or even Scizor with Trailblaze and Bullet Punch damage. Team number 8, we're going to have here Ninetales. Ninetales is going to be one of the biggest winners of the upcoming season. The thing with Ninetales is this Pokemon got buffed twice in the last 2 seasons then, because we're going to have here Powder Snow, which is going to be doing more damage now. We have Weather Ball, which is doing more damage now. But then even like Dazzling Beam got only buffed like a year ago or something in order to do needing not as much energy than it did before. And with that, it's honestly such an interesting Pokemon. I think that Ninetales is going to have a lot of play, but you have to be a bit mindful with all the Steel-type Pokemon in this meta. Here with Blastoise Greninja, you're going to have coverage against the weaknesses of Steel in terms of defensively. You're going to be able to take like Steel-type damage, but also offensively you can kind of pressure them a lot of times. The thing is here as well, you kind of need to have something against Fire-type Pokemon. This is why we needed to kind of have the Blastoise and the Greninja here. Chatterbug is kind of nice as a safe-up for this Pokemon as well, but then you kind of are weak to Fire-types, and I don't really think that is the ideal way. And so we are going to, now move on to team number 9. Where we are going to see here a very interesting team. We're going to have a team here with Hydreigon. Hydreigon is a good Pokemon. This team actually I forgot to put the wrong difficult matchup in here, which I just realized. Third is not a difficult matchup for this team. This is a lie. This is not the case. I wanted to put in a Azumarill, and I have no idea why there's a Third there, because Azumarill is the biggest difficult matchup for this team. No idea how Third landed there. Poor Third. Honestly, like it doesn't deserve to be in the difficult matchup spot. But yeah, Azumarill could be a bit tricky. The thing is here, I would recommend you to run Third over the Primeape in order to deal with the Azumarills a bit better. This is kind of what I think I wanted to do here, but at the end of the day, I just put Third into difficult matchups for no reason, so good job me there. Third though, going to make it a bit more difficult than against Bastiodon, so you always kind of have that tiny weakness against something. And I feel like it's basically impossible to kind of get rid of that. You could go ahead, I think that would work out as well, and go for Clodsire lead. But then again, you don't have Mud Steppers are going to hurt you. Well, in the main series games, the Hydreigon is going to have the ability of Levitate, and it does Levitate here on the screen as well. It's not going to be, it's still taking neutral damage basically from any kind of ground type move, which just seems silly in my opinion. So yeah, it is going to be not as ideal there, but I still think that Hydreigon is a cool Pokemon to run. I think it's a Pokemon I want to definitely give a try. And I think it's actually a good spot in the meta as well, because the typing itself is quite good against a lot of the safe-ups currently. And then you have Brutal Swing damage, and then you have the Fly damage. I think it's going to be a fun Pokemon to run. And for the final team, we have 2 buffed Pokemon here as well. There's going to be more GoGuys teams as well, but not another Go-Go team, which was the main reason why I had this one here. I think Go-Go Bastiodon is a very interesting core, because there are going to be still a lot of Fire-type Pokemon around. There are going to be still a lot of Talonflame around, Charizard around. I do think that those are going to not disappear at all, because like quite a lot of Steel-type Pokemon got buffed, a lot of Fairy-type Pokemon got buffed, Ice-type Pokemon got buffed. So Fire didn't really get nerfed, and so I do think that Go-Go with the Rock Slide is going to be a very interesting spot here, because you can use it as a safe swap, and you're going to be able to hit both the Ice-type Pokemon still for super effective, which you most of the times do anyway with Leaf Blade still though, because they most of the times are part water. But you're also going to be able to just hit like those Talonflames and Charizards for double super effective damage now with the new added Rock Slide. Rock Slide is 10 times better than the Brick Break. Brick Break would be an option of course as well for this Pokemon, but Rock Slide just gives it better coverage. And then we have Gogas in the back. I need to have like kind of a fighting type answer in the back, which Gourgeist kinda is, but I would rather recommend you maybe even Trevenant, Shadow Trevenant with Shadow Claw damage. Makes a bit more sense in my opinion. Doublade could be a bit of a trickier Pokemon generally for this team. Both Gourgeist as well as Trevenant would have some more play against it, especially as the main damaging move, Sacred Sword of the Doublade, is going to be double resisted. But it's a tough one generally, so yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Again, there's going to be very soon on this channel as well a part 2 with 10 more teams around buffed Pokemon, different buffed Pokemon than you saw here already. So definitely stay tuned with that, and I will see you then. Bye bye.